Now, politics is supposed to be the means to an end, the end being governance. And it does appear, like we've been saying across this table, that we keep talking about the shortfalls, the pitfalls, the problems, the same cycle of problems over and over. But we've had cycles of politicking and politics, which hasn't necessarily given us the kind of governance we want to see in the country. What do you hope? What can we do differently to mitigate this same cycle, of this vicious cycle, by the time we're talking about governance in the next political cycle, 4 years' time? What can we do differently now to stop that vicious cycle of poor governance or dissatisfaction within the polity that we continue to see in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Like the last speaker have just said, the legal mind. When you have an association, a political association, a political party that is devoid of a clear-cut ideology, the messaging will be very different and complicated. And like he also said, I quoted GT, when you look at it as a special purpose vehicle for your own personal advancement, you cannot get anywhere. Above all, you know, when you gather together without clear rules of engagement, with flouting our laws, and when you think that we're an animal farm, where some animals are, bigger than the others, as demonstrated by the various, acts of perfidy, you just got to wonder what is the really fundamental, objective of trying to govern a state. You cannot govern, you cannot get good governance without justice. You cannot get good governance without, a clear-cut rules of engagement. You cannot get good governance when people have no ideology. All they want is, how do I get to power? And the capture of power for your own personal advancement is the greater disservice you can do to a system. And look at it, it is very clear. When you see people moving from A to B, if you look at the whole political spectrum now, you will name a few individuals who have remained constant and consistent with their political parties. So that clearly shows you that, we need a conversation, to know what we should do and what is the purpose of government. And when people think you can hold a state to ransom because you hold one political position or not, you cannot get good governance. How do you see a situation where, you hold somebody to ransom, you kidnap an individual to announce the result, and we say, yes, that result will stand until it's overturned by the court? Where clearly a man is telling you that what I'm doing here, I'm not supposed to do it because of forces against me. Well, the world is watching, and we're also hoping that, the perpetrators of this ignoble act should be brought to justice. And if we allow them to go away and have their way and really represent us in the National Assembly, so what laws are they going to make for you when the violators of law in this country are going to that hollow chambers? So we need a conversation. We need to really discuss the way forward. What are we doing? What are we supposed to do? I mean, for example, the freedom of association, as it relates to party formation and politics. In advanced countries, in the US, for instance, where we say we borrowed our own style of democracy, you have not seen a man move from the Democratic Party to a Republican Party. At best, you live and form join an independent platform. When you have the leverage of moving from one party to another, when you find out that this party is winning, you go to the other one and get elected through all these dubious means. It calls for soul searching. I'm afraid, we thought we were going to move ahead. We thought we were going to consolidate on the gain of 2015. What we're having now is frightening. We need to overhaul the so-called security architecture as far concerning these elections and election management. I'm sad. I'm very sad, and I feel bad because this should not happen in a country you call yourself the biggest country in Africa, the largest democracy in Africa. We still have some of these things plaguing us every day. People commit these heinous crimes and they go free. It's sad, and I don't know. I feel bad. I feel bad. And the earlier we call for a conversation to determine the way forward in this country, the better for us.
General Esekaigbe, you know, there's a saying that desperate times require desperate measures. You did make this observation before that the military has been blackmailed out of the electoral process and thugs have been allowed to, you know, have their day in the sun. Now, I'm thinking, you know, isn't it possible to just call the bluff of politicians, go for broke, you know, just militarize the elections and secure lives? Or is there a more sophisticated alternative for securing our elections?
Yes, you see, I don't believe in militarizing the whole entire system. The question is, you know, we have rules, we have laws, but the political will to implement these laws has always been the problem. The Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria, especially Section 217 and the relevant subsections, and the Armed Forces Act, you know, Section 8, you know, clearly gave us rules of engagement when we are calling to aid military power and civil power and civil authority. But the question is, we have not grown to that extent of appreciating what is going on. For instance, let's go back to the president's statement of those who snatch ballots, buses will be killed and all that. We were looking at the jurisprudence of his action, not looking at, you know, the import of that statement. And I expected the opposition party, you know, to first of all come out and say, in as much as we do not support ballot snatching, but this is what it is. But all they were after is, oh, you have said this, you are going to snatch this. But today's election, who are the victims of this ballot snatching?
Yeah, so if we
don't
can
have
set it
that
right,
political maturity yet. But
General,
we can secure our elections.
Actually didn't categorically say that they will be killed. He just said that they will be doing so. It might be the last time they might be doing that, or they might lose their lives. So that we put that in context. So I just wanted us to put that out there. That's the position of the president. But I mean, these things have been subjected to various forms of interpretation. So you may please go ahead with your point at this moment.
Like I said, I was not. I was just quoting what was said. That he said at the expense of your life. So there was so many interpretations to that statement. What I'm trying to drive out is that we should think globally and act locally. Because if you say, oh, you don't want military deployment in your elections and all that, and you see these obvious infractions, these obvious intimidations, these obvious, you know, people taking laws into their hands, we should rethink, you know, the security architecture. Look at some polling units where there were violence. The policemen there were not armed. All in the sense that, oh, if you carry arms, you are going to intimidate, you know, the voters. But also looked at the voters need confidence to cast their ballot. So we should try to look at ourselves and see our problems and see how we can solve our problems. Think globally, act locally. If the military men were deployed, you know, with the outer corridor, and the policeman also has an outer corridor, different from those who are in the station there. How many of the policemen there did you see with walkie-talkie? Or you see with communication gadget to call for any reinforcement when there is a breach? Some of them were holding newspapers. So these are some of the things we should look at. Basic things, but they are very, very key. If you want to call the military for enforcement, the law is also very complex because there is a procedure of the police handing over to the military. So we also need to revise our laws to meet modern day requirements. Absolutely. Because when you have rigid laws that do not give room for flexibility, you are going to run into a problem because even the military men will be circumspect because they are also sensitive to, you know, international humanitarian law and some other charters which you are signing to as a country. And two, they are easy to be blamed. But one frightening thing here that we have seen in this election, like one returning officer said, that military men came to invade their place. We need to actually have a footage of that incident to really find out whether they are true military men or people who just saw military uniform or not. This is why we need to call for a meaningful conversation, you know, after action review of this whole entire political process.
All right, General, it's like you're talking about calling for a meaningful conversation. Now, we have election observer missions who are in the country monitoring all of this. And we expect that by the time this is over, they'll be making their observations known to all the various stakeholders, INEC, even the government of the day. Now, we understand that, of course, as far as the election observer missions are concerned, theirs is just to observe. But going forward, I mean, is there a way, is there a possibility that, you know, they can advise, and play some kind of advisory role, I mean, to the electoral umpire, the government, and everyone, not in a way, should I say, that will cause some kind of disharmony among the people, but, you know, just something to just give us an idea of how to do certain things right going forward. Do you think that is possible?
Yeah, it is possible, but you look at the vituperations that followed even the arrival of the foreign observers with some kind of, you know, veiled threat, you know, to their coming here and all that. They would try to claim, you know, a bogus sovereignty that you cannot really, you know, ascertain. You begin to wonder. But again, the sad thing is that they're only going to make their comments. And don't forget, in 2011, they make the observations known. In 2015, the observations were known. So the question is, how have these observations impacted positively on our going forward? So the observation is not binding. So it depends on the one you want to take from that and the one you don't want to take. So, well, maybe to influence public opinion, but does public opinion, you know, amount to law? You know, my brother there will be able to tell you how public opinion influences legislation or whether it influences it or not. So they are coming in here. As a matter of fact, a few days ago, we talked about their comments. You know, when, you know, there are discordant tones of their reports, you start to wonder, what is the aim? When you say, oh, this election is largely peaceful, I don't know how you describe that largely. It becomes amorphous to me. When there are skirmishes here, people have lost their lives, you know, harmless people have been killed in an election like this, then you call it largely peaceful. And on the other hand, the set of foreign observers will tell you, oh, with what we have seen here, it is a threat to democracy. So can they all come together and form a single opinion and drive it straight, you know, with a very strong statement to say, yes, this is what we have seen and it should not happen again, even though they don't dictate to us what happened here, as some people say. But if they come up with a strong statement with what they have observed without singing discordant tune, it may make a difference.